let's move on to our next speaker. And now we will hear from Kenneth Rogoff, an esteemed economist and a chess grandmaster. Kenneth is a professor at Harvard University and a global expert in finance and economic crisis. His unique perspective on the intersection of chess and economics is sure to captivate us. Please welcome on the stage.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I really want to thank, of course, the players in the tournament. It's just so exciting, but also the people who care about chess, not just sponsoring it, but bringing it to New York, which has been a while since something really important's been here, and I thank them, and I'm here to support chess also. I actually stopped playing. I'm a grandmaster. I represented the United States in the World Interzonal in the mid-'70s, but I stopped playing completely 45 years ago. The only game, one game, no computers, no online, nothing, against a human or machine opponent was, I did an exhibition game for charity with Magnus in 2012. The theme of what I want to talk about is how much innovation there is in chess and how chess has been a sandbox for innovation in the modern world. We could even go to how chess is having to deal with cheating. Believe me, I would like to bring Ken Regan. By the way, a lot of people confuse me for Ken Regan. We're both professors, but he's the cheating guy. He doesn't cheat, but he's an expert at cheating. We'd like to bring him, certainly like to bring him to my university because it's a very difficult problem. I follow chess, I love chess, I'm addicted to chess, although I don't play. I think about it an embarrassingly lot of the time. I have to say, as someone who worked really, really hard at chess, I did most of my time playing chess in the late 60s and the 70s. The level of innovation and progress is just astounding. I mean, positions I thought I knew everything about, I knew nothing about. And that's certainly been, chess has been at the cutting edge of databases, artificial intelligence, we all know about DeepMind. And there's no question this has influenced human play tremendously over time. A really big difference between the top players and probably all of you who are playing in the tournament and back in my day, like a long time ago, is that it used to be even the best players had weaknesses. There were parts of the game, maybe it was the end game, maybe it was complex tactical positions, maybe it was certain kinds of openings. There were just things they didn't do well, and you would try hard to steer towards them. They would try hard to steer away from them. And the change in play to having players be so much more universal, I first started noticing this maybe 15 years ago. I met Lev Aronian. He's a phenomenal player. Is he playing here? Yeah, he is. Just phenomenal player. And I'd been following his games. He plays, E4, D4, C4, knight F3, G3, everything. He plays middle games well. He plays end games well, all kinds of positions well. And I got a chance to meet him, and I said, by the way, he's even a great dancer, and something I'm going to need to learn. My daughter's getting married, so I have to pick up my game in that. I asked him, and he's incredibly modest and says, well, we all learned it from Ivanchuk. He was really the pioneer in doing this. But it is simply something that's incredible. And yet, I think something that hasn't changed is just how exciting chess still is. Or at least I'm just a fan now, find it incredibly exciting. I think of one of the great experiences in my life. I suppose all of you are too young, except for a few of you. I was playing in the World Under-26 Team Championship in Graz, Austria in 1972. I was playing first board for the United States. I did pretty well. I finished second to Karpov, but that's not what the story's about. Fischer, there was a much more important tournament going on, which was with Fischer and all the craziness that was going on. And I somehow got a hold of Game 5. There was no internet. There was no nothing. I think one of the Icelandic players had it and gave it to me. And I'm showing it to people in the room. And, you just, it's magical. And you think, this person's, God. Where did these ideas come from? Where did these moves come from? And I still would say I feel that, for example, saying Magnus's best play, many of you, I don't want to, just single him out, but, certainly that's impressive that someone, okay, I don't know if the game started at move 7 or 17, because I'm not an expert, but I still think that astonishment is still there. Why did I give up chess? Well, there are many reasons. I won't go into all of them before, but actually I was going to mention in terms of weaknesses, Fischer wasn't good at rook endings. I got to meet Fischer. He came every day to the US Junior Championship in 1969, which lasted maybe 10 days back then. We thought it was incredibly generous of him. He came, he spent time analyzing with us. And he sort of explained that for the last 3 months, he had locked himself in a hotel room. He'd asked for a room with no view so that he could learn rook endings because he had lost a couple rook endings and did not want that to happen again. And he got better at rook endings. And, that was amazing. But during that, when he came to the tournament, which I won, he wrote an incredibly flattering article about me. It's on my webpage. He annotated one of my games. I don't know if this is right, but I think it's actually one of only a couple games by not living people that he'd annotated. He was really generous to me in it. And yet we'd been talking with him, and he's saying, this person's an idiot, this person's an idiot, who I kind of knew were better than me. And I'm thinking, oh, he's saying I'm so talented because he knows I'm no threat to him. And I was 16, I think, when he wrote that, and that dawned on me. Another thing that happened was when I went to be a graduate student at MIT, there was this brilliant young programmer working there, not in the economics department. His name's Richard Greenblatt. Some of you who are in AI or in coding know the name. As I understand it, he was probably 21 or 22 when I met him, considered one of the great coders of all time. He's considered the founder of the hacking community, and it doesn't mean breaking into your computer, it means something else back in those days. And he had done the first really strong computer program. And he knew who I was, and he solicited me and wanted me to play with it. And it was good. That's interesting, the rook position, which we're saying was 1980, I don't know. It was good. I played it maybe 20 games, and I won them all. But I wasn't sure I was going to keep winning them all. And I was thinking, do I want to be the first grandmaster to lose or draw with a computer? And, that was certainly intimidating. And when I gave up chess a few years later, really because I wanted to be, I'm so addicted to chess, I wanted to clear my brain to do economics. It was certainly in my mind, this Greenblatt program. I wrote it in Chess Life that I just, didn't think humans would compete, and what was there to do? How wrong I was. And the fact is that, chess is incredibly vibrant. It's doing incredibly well. Yeah, there are anti-cheating measures. Maybe other, Fischer random and stuff may rise someday. But it has not hurt the health of chess. It's really something that's quite remarkable. I sometimes quote that to people in trying to say, it's not the end of the world. If AI moves into some spheres we're in, maybe we'll learn a lot. I think there have been, all you chess players know, just phenomenal breakthroughs in AI. So I want to segue to saying a few things about my life as an economist and how chess helped me. And if I get to it, I'll show a few slides. I think it, of course, taught me in a disciplined way to think about strategic thinking. Maybe the most important paper I ever wrote was I wrote the first paper on why having an independent central bank might be helpful to a country, even if you don't like what it's doing at every point in time. If you're looking at the long run, which long run interest rates do, it actually could be very helpful, even if you don't like what it's doing in the short run. I think also it was mentioned, I've worked on financial crises. I'll come at the end to that. I gave a speech in August of 2008 in Singapore. The Lehman collapse happened in September 2008. And I was based on my work of many years on a book I was doing, and I'd actually been giving a similar speech. It was to a room this size. There were actually only a couple junior reporters in it. And I just said what I thought was obvious at that point. I wasn't trying to be hyperbolic. I said, I thought the world was going into recession, the financial crisis, financial housing market was going down, and I expected one of the world's biggest banks to fail. And then I went on to mention other things that would happen. And I thought it was matter of fact. I had to hop on a plane to go to Sweden from Singapore via London. I'm coming on the plane from London to Heathrow to Stockholm, and everybody's reading the newspaper in first class or whatever, business class, whatever I was in, different newspapers. I'm on the front page of every newspaper. And I get back, I found out my wife's vacationing in France, in rural France. I'm on the front page of the newspaper there. I land in Stockholm. I have calls from senators, from George Soros, from the head of the ECB, wanting to know, what am I thinking? And actually, my reaction was a little bit to hide, because I'm someone who wants to study international financial crises, not cause them. But I do think, one of the ways chess was very helpful at that moment was chess teaches you to handle pressure. I'm going to circle just to one kind of last thing that I'm working on now, which is, I mentioned long-term and long-term interest rates. It's something I've been working on, and it's intimately related to innovation, because there is this theory going around. It's been very popular. I'm sure Boaz knows this, and Timur also does, that for a very long time, everyone on Wall Street, everyone in the major central banks, everyone, not myself, but everyone in academics, thought growth but particularly innovation was going like this. And I did debates around the world with some of the famous economists, Paul Krugman, Larry Summers. That won't impress you. But I actually did a debate with Gary Kasparov and Peter Thiel at the Oxford Union in 2012. They had written a very good book on this. They had a lot of good ideas where they were arguing, I won't get it exactly right if Gary said, well, the iPhone 5's not that much better than the iPhone 4, and we're just done with significant innovations. I probably lost the debate, I'm not actually sure, but I was making the point that I had seen what AI was doing in chess. Why wouldn't that be applicable to other things? And I stuck with that bet. And why wouldn't it, for example, drive up interest rates? We think that, well, that can't happen if the population's shrinking. Who cares if the population's not as important to production, not as important to innovation, that the opportunities are still there? This is a map from a paper of mine about this is 2015, countries in the world where the currency rotates around the dollar. They are in red. The countries that rotate around the euro are in blue, and there's almost the yellow, or countries that, if it's a light red, it's countries that are more loosely related to the dollar. The dollar dominance is just phenomenal. By the way, kind of a mistake in this is I don't have Greenland, which is actually quite big, and it would be in blue, and now I know why Trump wants it. So people have gotten this idea the US can just do anything it wants. And this is a chart, and there are many, this isn't mine, this is from the Congressional Budget Office, of where debt is projected at levels nobody's ever seen before, 160% of GDP, it's just one measure. Well, I've debated that this can't go on forever. But I was told, no, you're wrong, because interest rates are low. It's a new world. This time is different. Interest rates are never going to go up again. And this is a graph that won't be familiar to many of you. It's of the 10-year US interest rate is the most important rate in all financials and the markets in the world. It is the bellwether rate. If you tell me what happened to the 10-year interest rate, it's an incredible piece of information about what happened to the dollar, what happened to the stock market, what happened to everything. It's absolutely a bellwether rate. This is the inflation adjusted. It's indexed to inflation, because when you're talking about debt, this actually is the one that matters. I don't have time for like a long explanation, but the government's revenues go up at the rate of inflation. And so that part's okay, but to the extent that the interest rate's higher than that is a problem. And so Washington's just drunk on the idea of this graph and that interest rates will never go up again. This actually ends in 2021. I did a very famous event with Larry Summers at the IMF in 2013, where he first declared we're in what he called secular stagnation, very similar, frankly, to the Thiel-Kasparov hypothesis. We're not going to invent anything again, and interest rates would be low forever. And although it's less sophisticated, there are many, many people who sort of buy into this, both the Republicans and the Democrats, and this is around the world. Well, here's where it is now. It has gone back up. Oops, the debt has not gone down. And now US debt service has virtually tripled over a short period because the interest rates have gone up so much. And it's a debate about, is this a blip? Is this because Donald Trump's coming? Is this because the pandemic's over? And this is from a paper of mine in the American Economic Review. It's one of the couple of professional journals. It's just published. This looks at 7 centuries of that data constructed using the fact that so much of libraries are digitized. I'm sure some AI will do this better than I will. This is the global interest rate. But the point is, the volatility is not as great as it looks because it's 700 years squeezed onto this. If I stretched out the graph, it would look a little less crazy. But there's a downward trend that maybe stopped 120 years ago. But the period that everyone was talking about, that convinced that interest rates will be low forever, that's the little circled area. Everyone was looking at that. They're not looking at the bigger picture. They're not looking ahead. They're looking at short-term strategy. So let me just sort of conclude with another this time is different thing, which is the dollar, all of you are from other countries, is really high. And this is a measure of the dollar adjusted for the price levels in different countries. My graduate students who get their stipends in local currency, say in euro, are just despondent over this because everything's so expensive. I assume for some of you it makes the prize fund a little nicer because it's in dollars. My son, who's not here, wants me to do TikTok videos about this because he says no one listens to anything you say on CNBC or Fox or ABC or anything. You have to do a TikTok video. And he wants me to do something like, so the point is that this has actually only happened twice before. In 1985 and 2002, I actually wrote about this a lot in 2002. And I was at the IMF and predicting it would come down. And both in 1985 and in 2002, it came down. So he wants me to do something like 1985, dollar was high, came down. 2002, dollar was high, came down. Now it's high, it's going to come down. And then you repeat that 20 times. And evidently that creates a successful TikTok video. I haven't done that. So this is 2 books of mine. First is, on the right, is This Time is Different, which is a scholarly book, but since chess players are obsessed with rankings, it reached 4th on Amazon of all books for almost a week, actually a year after it came out, because it had something to say about the financial crisis. And I will say, the 3 books we were trailing were all the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series, which have sex and violence in them. And so our book didn't explicitly. On the left is a book that I have coming out in May that I'm very excited about, Our Dollar, Your Problem. And I absolutely use chess in, I think, a light-handed way and how it affects strategic thinking about problems of some of these issues. I'll just say I end the last chapter with starting with a quote from Bent Larsen, this great Danish player. He was ranked 2nd for a long time, as was Lev Aronian, which I forgot to say. And he was asked once, would you rather be lucky or good? And Larsen said, I want to be lucky and good. And the point is, I think a lot of Americans realize we're good, but we don't realize how lucky we've been. Anyway, thank you.